Hello, beautiful people. How's it going? I have not been on here for a few weeks. I actually do have some updates, but I'm going to save that for another video. I will be talking in there. I do have quite a bit to say regarding my short time that I had with the 23 fifth graders in an after school program that I was involved with. I'm very proud of myself, I have to say, because I was leaving a situation that I noticed right away was already really going to be affecting like my mental health in not a good way. Basically, because I was going to end up being on my own, probably. But I also wasn't willing to wait and find out for them basically to get help for me. So, sorry, I was going to talk about that more another time. But I'll basically say, yeah, I did have help while I was there, but then I was not going to be probably having help, I was figuring, so I needed to cut out. I was like, I didn't want to wait and try to figure it out, right? For them to figure it out. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today is I never completed my series. Basically, I was going to, so I did two series, and I'd actually have to look back at it. The first one, I believe, was about breaking patterns, and the second one was on people pleasing. And I had made like 2 or 3 videos in that series, and I was on a roll, and I was getting ready to do the one on abandonment, which is one of my deepest personal struggles for most of my life, that I want to get into, but I don't know. Both those series kind of drained me, and I needed a break. And of course, because it's one of my deepest struggles, I knew that I was going to be talking about it again. But I also was kind of like, how do I do this without completely exhausting myself? So I think it did it. I did it today. Um, Finally sitting down and typing up some stuff, of course, that I've been meaning to do. So, what I want to talk about specifically in this video is this is what I've come to realize that I've kind of wondered a lot of times, right? How do I put into words these things that I've experienced, and they're kind of jumbled all over the place. So, I've had these thoughts going on for a very long time, and it just keeps swarming around in my head. And so here we are. So I feel like I've become basically, I don't want to say an expert at this subject matter. I just think I feel like maybe I've become an expert to myself in understanding it for myself. I understood lots of parts of it logically, and I don't know, let's just say there, right? Like, I knew this was an issue for a very long time in my early 20s, but let's not get into that yet, because then I will get sidetracked. Okay, so describe it as the word as abandon. I'm going to say early 20s to 40s, because my very first boyfriend, and it definitely, we're not going to get into that talking about, it's very attachment style based, like pretty much with each other 24/7. I might as well have lived with him and his parents. And when my mom and I weren't getting along, it was basically with him all the time and his friends. It wasn't even so much like with him alone, it was just constantly with his friends. And just anyway, did he even ever work? Maybe briefly there. Uh, so up and down moments, and you would have thought if you heard my story that after getting married and actually, finding somebody who truly loves me and all of that, that it wouldn't, like, that it maybe would have gone away, right? And but I think it actually just triggered more moments. I think that's what happens, right? When you find one of your soulmates, and that's one of the things they do, right? Soulmates, twin flames. I have not even talked about that at all. Some people actually end up finding them in life. Sometimes and some people don't, for various different reasons, right? That it happens to some of us. Okay, so all these years in holistic health, we're going to say 20 some years, I've tried all of these different sorts of alternative therapies. I've talked about them a little bit, whether it's from Reiki or it's something called Barre. I think that's what it's called, Barre, Barre. I've tried, is it chromotherapy? It's like a different type of light therapy healing. I've tried shamanic healing. I've tried all of these different sorts of things, lots of things. I want to say minimum of 15, maybe different sorts of things, maybe 10. And while they weren't ever specific, I guess, to abandonment, I was always trying to do something to heal these areas of myself that once I got into healing and I knew what that meant, right? Because I never even knew that there was something to heal. But when I learned more about these things, and I also learned about how I actually learned my lessons, the lessons helped me heal the certain parts of my soul, if you want to say it, that I would no longer, let's say, cry over, or maybe my behavior in some other way would change, you know. Crying is just an example. But maybe I would just stop doing right these certain patterns. Okay, sorry about that. Yawning. So I tried all these different things, and I really did feel like, God, like, am I going to be stuck with this abandonment, being abandoned? Um, all these sorts of things that, maybe again stemmed, whether it's a generational thing they talk about, or it's from hearing that this kid saying that, the reason my mom gave me to my dad is because she didn't want me anymore, and all these sorts of things, right? So there's a little bit of that in there. Okay, so I already understood that part, and about this is, I guess, using the term as abandoned, being abandoned. And then, whatever else the childhood friends that I've talked about, again, seeing attachment based relationships. And so, male or female, as, platonic friends, I would say I was stuck in those fears of abandonment and attaching. Okay, so it really wasn't until maybe the age of 43, like, I think the feelings started to fizzle away, and I wasn't triggered as much by these different fears, right? So I was thinking about, okay, I did all these sorts of things that I feel like didn't work. Like, why is it now over these past couple of years that I do feel like I'm free of that way of thinking, right? Like, how is it? Like, it's taken so long. Like, what's going on? What has happened, And I figured, okay, so it's life experience and time. But along this road, um, and analyzing and all of this, I think it was a lot about me feeling safe and secure in the world, and that I could stand on my own 2 feet. And you'll read this if you read in psychology. It talks about the importance of a child feeling safe and secure in the world. And I never did, again, professional therapy or anybody like analyzing me on this, like, sort of a level. I just studied a lot and read a lot, and this is how I've become uh, aware of this. Even in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, he talks about how there's certain things that, like, we need as humans in the world, which I guess maybe I like to deny, or didn't think it was really that important, right? So that's what I ended up realizing, that, and I could still be wrong, but this is what I feel deep down, that it is this feeling of safety and security, and the idea of losing love somehow was factored in that. And like I said, like, it's kind of been confusing to me. Okay, so life experience of picking apart, like, well, why do I not feel so triggered by this? Why is it not so much of my, like, dominating negative thoughts, right? Because the abandonment topic, I think, is very negative thinking, that I feel like I just couldn't shake. So I was looking at people in my past, the people that are still around, all these things I've learned that people just basically, I think it was that so many people coming in and out of my life, whether it was clients, whether it may have been a couple of people, that you thought were almost like, I thought were like sisters to me, or, we were close or whatever it is, and then you grow apart or people move away, even though I still can't keep in contact with people. They just didn't usually maintain anything with me. I was, again, always the one efforting in all my relationships. So these different phases, right? People coming in and out. People, maybe just life, right? They have kids, they have mates, you don't talk to them for a while, and then it just fizzles out. People flaking, people ghosting, people not answering emails, whether you don't know whether it's on purpose or not. All of these different sorts of things that could have caused a lot of bitterness in me towards people, not only just bitterness about the world, but about dealing with people, right? And maybe in this mix of the over, right, 20, 30 years, genuinely caring for people and immersing myself in loving them. And then when we would stop talking, it was almost like I responded as if it was like a physical death just because I couldn't see them or talk to them. That's what I really think that it is. Even though I know we can telepathically talk to people, I never really saw that until later in life, how we could do that, and how, even though I believe in psychicness and intuition, I just basically thought, we're not talking anymore, we don't see each other anymore. It's like I was responding like they physically died. So, what I kept doing is recreating this illusion of losing them. I feel like I lost them, right? I lost the love. They didn't love me anymore. Whatever it is. They might not even have been showing me very much love. I just thought that they were, I guess just being a presence. Because, like I said, a lot of the times I realized I was the one efforting, and have realized at this point not a lot of people are going to put in effort, right? And it's okay. So I just have to watch my energy and what I put into whatever type of relationships or friendships I have now moving forward. Okay, let's see if I'm going to make it through this episode. I'd have to re-record it. So I look at all of this as like I created my own pain and suffering, and I think because it happens so much, this is actually how I learned to heal on a subconscious level. If you want to say maybe I was building up resilience, maybe it was hardening me, I don't know. I feel like too at the same time, yeah, it's hardening you, it's making you stronger. I don't know to say. I guess it's a good thing in the freedom that you feel when you, excuse me, when I feel like I've escaped that, again, in general, the mental enslavement of my mind, of basically attaching to people. That's why it always comes back to, I look at it like how much of my life I've spent basically focusing on the other people, I guess. Even if I am loving them, the fact that I love so much, right? It's like at my own fault. I would only blame myself. Okay, so we just talked about the fear of losing the love and them leaving me, and again coming back to the idea of being able to stand on my own 2 feet and that I can do life. That was another part of it. So this is what I feel has led to my healing, and it just took me this whole goddamn time to learn it in this way, because I still look at it as like I've tried all of these things in my past, and I know that it has to deal with the subconscious. No, I did not do any really, really super lengthy hypnosis sessions. I did do a series not focused on this, but I did do a series focused on one of my other issues, and I don't know that it went beyond like 6 sessions, but I did that, and I've listened to tons of audio over the years that would address rejection. And if you haven't listened to me before, I have tons of stuff I've talked about self-worth. This is how I know the stuff I talk about self-worth. But so many of different these things of illusions, which these illusions also, this goes into the depths of talking about separation from each other, oneness with the Most High or God or whatever you would like to call it, right? And that's where it gets really confusing. I'll have to read from my book about that, maybe to explain a little bit more next time. Okay, so I am actually going to go ahead and end this right here by saying I don't know if this helps you all, but maybe it helps provide some insight from someone who I feel like is a word traversed. I wanted to use traversed this subject area most of my life. And I wanted to share it with you because I do definitely have some tips. While it's not an easy fix, and maybe for some of you, you could come to these realizations of healing earlier in your journey if it's something that you want to look into. And I would say to use the word abandon because I do feel like that's a lot of us struggle with that, but to actually use the word, and maybe you're just becoming consciously aware of, especially if you are subconsciously self-sabotaging relationships that you want to keep, right? Push your people away. You do different things because you don't want them to leave you for fear of abandonment, right? Does that sound familiar? So I never did that. I'd have to think back of a situation because I haven't had very many serious relationships. So I don't, I don't, I'd really have to think about how did I, in the feelings of the fear of abandonment, I think I would just hold it inside. I think I just was living with it. I would just, as each friendship I would get into earlier on, I just figured maybe it wouldn't last. I don't know what I was doing, but I think that's my method. So instead of a self-sabotaging, instead of that whole thing, which you'll hear some examples of people doing that, like relationships never last, or they never get close with anybody because of that, like I didn't do that. So again, my story is a little bit different. So maybe I'll do another show to talk about the difference and things like that I have in this go around in this next stage of life for those of you. But number one is definitely the importance of diversifying your love and talking more about what attachment means, having things for yourself. That sounds really simple, but can be very challenging to do. So, thank you for listening. I'll meet you in the next video. And something that I don't do at the end of all my videos, which I should because there are some of you listening to me for the first time, is don't forget to check out my audio only shows on Pandora and Spotify. I know it's on some other platforms as well, but those are only my audio only shows there. My YouTube has more of my videos. So on Pandora and Spotify, I interview one of my biggest, or if the biggest support system, front singer in MacKaye of Minor Threat, punk rock influence band. And additionally, I also interview his EF still to this day, Henry Rollins. And I had always, one thing, always been interested in Henry Rollins because of his vulnerability in the poetry he used to do when he was younger, specifically when he was talking about women. I just loved it because, masculine man basically just spilling his guts. And I just think it's adorable, even though I think it's adorable. He never has ended up getting married or anything like that, but very confident, independent person. And anyway, I wanted to remind you all of that. And then don't forget to subscribe, of course, if you want to hear me run my mouth more on all these topics regarding mindset and personal empowerment and holistic health, which I don't talk too much about. I kind of throw it in there here and there, but I know I need to get on top of that as well. Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.